The name Donald Trump has notably been the name of wide controversy over the years. From making the self-absorbed claim that the 2020 election results were fraudulent, being convicted of 34 felony counts, being found liable of sexual assault, being an extreme xenophobe, and exhibiting fascist behavior, it's safe to say that Trump's moral compass is all but defective. Despite such a tainted moral sense, Mr. Orange has decided to run for re-election after his ignominious defeat to Biden in the 2020 election. But you might be wondering, isn't he a businessman who was on that one TV show 20 years ago? Well, in this video, I'm going to answer that very good question. How a sexual abuser / businessman and a whole lot of other outrageous things entered the political space, his not so humble origins, and how he plans to use his power, if elected to office, to obstruct justice and manipulate the will of the American people, simultaneously molding America's sanctified democratic system into a fascist regime where the rules don't apply to him, nearly desecrating 250 years of civil development. Yeah, so it seems like my opinion is as clear as day. And yes, I may be against the majority of what he stands for, but my job is to tell you the truth. And I will not let my discontent for the former president cloud my judgment. So without further ado, I present to you the truth about Donald Trump. Donald John Trump was born on June 14, 1946 in Jamaica Hospital Medical Center, New York, to parents Fred C. Trump and Mary Ann MacLeod Trump. Trump's father was a real estate developer and businessman. He was born in the Bronx to German immigrants. So technically Trump isn't fully purebred American, just mostly purebred American. In the early stages of his career, Fred worked in home construction and sales before shifting over to the acclaimed Trump management. I'm positive you're aware of the old adage, like father, like son. Well, in this case, that saying is as analogous as peanut butter is to jelly. As during the span of his life, similar to his son, Fred had many encounters with the law. The first time he got arrested was in 1927 due to the fact that he had to leave a KKK rally that had been taking place at the time. Although Donald Trump has formally claimed that this is fake news and is in fact not true. The second time he got arrested was in 1976 in Georges County, Maryland, for failing to comply with citations for house code violations. Oh yeah, and he was arrested for profiteering. Twice. Oh yeah, and I'm pretty sure racism is hereditary in the Trump family, as in 1973, Fred and his son were sued by the US Justice Department's Civil Rights Division for apparent racial discrimination against black people. Fast forward 20 years, and on June 25th, 1999, Fred Trump died in New Hyde Park, New York, at 93 years old after his battle with pneumonia. Trump's mother, Mary Ann MacLeod Trump, was born on May 12, 1912 in Ross-shire, Scotland. She died on August 7, 2000 in the same place as her late husband. Trump's childhood is what you would expect. He grew up in a nice neighborhood, went to a good school, and graduated from a respectable college. As for his religious beliefs, he stated that he's a non-denominational Christian. Trump has had 5 kids with 3 wives, so I guess it wouldn't be a stretch to say he's the orange suburbanist. Trump started his business career when he was employed to his father's real estate company, Trump Management. Just 4 years later, in 1971, Trump became the president of Trump Management and later changed the name of the company to Trump Organization. But of course, it isn't the Trump company without Trump scandals. As I mentioned before, in 1971, Donald Trump and his father were sued by the US Justice Department's Civil Rights Division for apparent racial discrimination against African American renters. But what I failed to mention is that this wouldn't be the only time this would happen. In 1978, the Justice Department filed suit again, claiming there had been resumed instances of racial discrimination in violation of the consent decree. Donald Trump was also a known advocate for the birther conspiracy theory, which expounds on the fallacious notion that former President Barack Obama was not born in the United States. But that theory has since been debunked. Trump is also a proud owner of some estates himself, most notably being Trump Tower in New York City and Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach, Florida, which I'll expound on later. As the Trump name and empire grew, his media-centric presence followed, and the media entered a phase I like to call the omnipresent orange epoch, or OOE for short. Trump was everywhere. Trump was on interview after interview after interview. He was even on that one TV show, though I forget the name. The teacher, the student, I don't know. Anywho, everywhere you looked, you couldn't escape the sight of him. And don't even get me started on when Trump discovered Twitter. Trump has made over 57,000 tweets since the creation of his account, and some of them have been controversial, to put it mildly. Eventually, he got banned, but his buddy Elon reinstated his account, but that's another story for another day. In 2015, Donald Trump announced he'd be entering the race for President of the United States. Did he win? Well, after several contentious debates and back and forth between Trump and his opponent Hillary, Trump reigned triumphant and became the 45th President of the United States. Yeah, well, how about we take a look at some of his accomplishments in office? So despite Trump's humdrum time in office, he did manage to make some positive alterations with his time in office. During Trump's time in office, he managed to impose stricter repercussions on animal abusers, give $100 million towards the water infrastructure dilemma in Flint, Michigan, make America the #1 producer of crude oil in the world, and lots of other things I'll link in the description below. And on that note, I'd like to ask if you could please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it if we could hit 100 subscribers for the end of the year. And without further ado, let's get back to the video. Despite the astonishing number of changes made by Trump, given it's Trump we're talking about, his presidency didn't come without its fair share of failures. Well, for starters, he was impeached twice, carried out mass deportations, separating families away from each other, and at times, even stripped citizenship away from natural-born American citizens solely due to the fact that their parents were not American. He used taxpayer money to construct the wall, despite stating several times that Mexico would pay for it. He lost more than 18 million jobs. He severely mismanaged the COVID crisis. He left the unemployment rate at an all-time high. He failed to aid small businesses and overall appealed to the lower and middle class. And at the end of his presidency, it's not a stretch to say that he did not make America great again. Trump predicated his campaign solely off the fact that he was fed up with America being ripped off by our allies. Well, the ironic thing is, we were the ones who were scammed. The only plausible notion that he brought forth was instantly consigned to oblivion. One thing he did manage to do was exploit the Republican Party's historical branding for one sole purpose of his, to evade and obstruct justice, which I'll expound on in a bit. So Trump's presidency was arguably a bust, but Trump being Trump decided to run for re-election, and what happened next was unsavory, all things considered. On January 6, 2021, the United States Capitol building was attacked by a mob of Trump supporters who believed that the election had been fraudulent. Their plan was to keep Trump in power by preventing a joint session of Congress counting electoral votes to finalize Biden's victory. In less than 2 days, 5 people had lost their lives. 5 innocent civilians had lost their lives because of Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump's ego was so big and insatiable that he thought the best way to furnish it would be by inciting an unconstitutional riot. Because Donald Trump has no regard for the consequences of his actions. Because Donald Trump has no regard for the Constitution. Because Donald Trump is an egotistical conglomerate who has no regard for any other human being except himself. Earlier last month, the Supreme Court ruled that Donald Trump is presumptively immune from criminal liability for official acts and completely immune for some of them. Most notably, his attempt to the Justice Department to obstruct the results of the 2020 election. The fact that this is even possible in the United States of America is quite literally insane. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Now listen closely. If Donald Trump is elected President of the United States this coming November, he will manipulate the will of the American people, evade lawful judicial processes, mold America into a fascist autocracy where the rules don't apply to him, change the United States of America into an unconstitutional, unsystematic landfill, a nation whose citizens have no rights, a nation whose political system is broken and rigged towards the likes of self-absorbed millionaires and billionaires, a nation not of, for, and by the people, but of, for, and by one man. This man. I'll leave it at that. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and like and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video with the truth. The crude truth.